You mentioned earlier that you saw Warren Beatty and Annette Bening on the red carpet.
Yes.
You were volunteering and you took the liberty to go up and just honor their work and say hello. But you said sometimes you go back and forth.
Yeah.
Sometimes that extrovert in you comes out and sometimes the introvert comes out. And I think a lot of actors have that inside of them. They get really in their heads. How does an actor promote themselves when they don't want to come off shamelessly promoting themselves, but then they know that that's part of their job? And especially if they're not represented,
Right.
but you've done a wonderful job in creating work for yourself.
Thank you.
Without that, which you should be really proud of. So
Thanks.
how does the actor get out of their head and get out of that introvert kind of antisocial mode? Because it is really hard to sell yourself, especially when you're the product.
It's a really good question, and it's like got so many dynamics to it. I think where I'll start is when I made the switch from, I had mentioned to you guys, I booked a lot of bands when I first moved to town. And when I made that switch to, what are you doing? You're promoting everyone else's career and not yourself and your talents. When I made that switch, I suddenly realized, like, oh my God, I know how to promote everyone else, but I don't know how to promote me. Like, I was used to putting out email blasts all the time about this band and that band, and they're doing a video shoot and they've got a concert, and come on down and see this awesome sexy guy, you know, whatever it was. But I didn't know how to say, like, wait, come see Leah, you know, or like, hey, check out what I'm doing. And I also, I think, had a big wake-up call as to the fact that everybody was just used to me promoting all their stuff. And it was hard to like make that switch happen of like, no, I've got stuff that I want to post on my own MySpace page right now, you know, that kind of thing. So it's definitely a lifelong process, I think. But then there's obviously a finesse to it. You know, there's obviously a way to do it. Now, I didn't go up to Warren and Annette on the carpet. I approached them at the party afterwards. The carpet would be really, I think, would be really awkward because those actors are, you know, they're posing for photos and stuff like that. You always have to feel it out. Like, each situation is completely different. Here's a good one. At that same event, Christian Slater was there. And Christian and I have both worked on Robot Chicken. We don't know each other, but we've both worked on Robot Chicken. And then I saw him, I'm trying to think, I'm not sure if I have it backwards or not. Yeah, okay. And then I did a spot on My Name is Earl. I don't know, 6 months later, something like that. And he was the guest star. And I had this extra role bumped into a featured spot where I was singing a song next to him, and he actually ends up handing me, you know, one of the props. Like, I was like, hey, why don't you hand it to me? And we had this little acting moment together. So now I'm at this premiere, and Christian's walking down the red carpet, and me and my friend are like walking this way into it, and she's like, didn't you just do some work with him? And I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't know why, you know, like, no. So then we get in line to get the popcorn. He's in line next to us again, and she's like, no, right? So now we finally go in to walk to our seats, and just at that moment, he happens to be walking back up with another gentleman, and I'm like, all right, universe, you're telling me to, like, don't let the cat have your tongue and say something to this man. And I was like, Christian, hey, my name's Leah. We worked on Robot Chicken together, and we just did an episode of My Name is Earl. And he goes, I thought you looked familiar, and introduces me to his manager. He's like, oh, this is my manager, you know, good to see you. You know, that was it. You know, but if I run into him again down the line, now it's like a familiar face of like, oh, hey. And so we can't be afraid to approach people in this industry, whether it's Steven Spielberg or J.J. Abrams or, you know, Warren Beatty and Annette Bening, because they're just human beings too. And they probably, if you're interesting, maybe they want to know you, you know, maybe like you have something to share with this world, right? Like, that's why we do what we do. So if you can't tell anybody about it, then you're sitting in your basement somewhere. There's times where I won't approach somebody, or like I'm trying to feel out that right moment and it doesn't happen, but maybe I talked myself out of it, I'm not sure. I recently had a chance to talk to Leonardo DiCaprio, and I took it, and I approached him first by complimenting him on all the charity work that he does and whatnot, and then we got a little conversation going about Twitter and a project I was in and stuff like that. And he walked away, and like the entire sports bar was like, oh my God, you just talked to Leonardo DiCaprio? And I was like, well, yeah, I was telling him about my work, about my project, you know, like. I think as a whole, we want to know what our fellow human beings are doing, especially if it aligns with something that you're doing. But then, of course, that goes into the online world of promotion, which is tricky. I personally, I post a lot. I tweet a lot, but I do it on my own page. So I have a strict policy that I don't like it when someone posts something on my Facebook page that I didn't ask you to post, that I'm not connected to, that I'm not involved in somehow, because that's my space, you know? Like, these people are subscribed to what I'm doing because for some reason or another, either they felt guilty and connected, or they care about what I'm doing. And so if somebody happens to stop by, you know, Karen's page, they should see the latest of what Karen's doing, not what Billy and Joey and Bobby are doing because they posted it on your page. I sometimes feel that's taking advantage of like somebody else's bulletin board, so to speak, you know. And a girlfriend of mine, Robin, she's a writer in New York, she put it this way a long time ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. I have 2 Facebook pages, which, as any kind of entertainer performer, I highly recommend. You do want the smaller page where your friends and your family are. And yeah, that gets a little large at times, but then you need that professional page that doesn't have a cap limit on it and that you only post professional things, not the photo of you and your kitty when you wake up in the morning, because I do it too. But there does need to be a boundary. But my friend Robin had mentioned that accepting people on like your Facebook page is sort of like giving them a backstage pass to your life. Not everybody gets a backstage pass at the Poison concert, you know what I mean? Like, not everybody does. So I'm selective, and so there's been, usually I'll just delete it. If it happens again, I'll delete it and I'll say something. I've run into a few cases, people that I was friends with for 10 years, where they're like, recently, a guy I knew who was promoting his new web show yet had never looked at mine or, you know, any of that stuff. I said, hey, you know, that's kind of spammy, you know. He didn't get it, and he accused me of not caring about him and not caring about his career, and deleted me on Facebook. And I'm like, I wrote a couple blogs. I write for a blog called Talk Nerdy to Me Lover, and I did a couple installments on social media and kind of the finesse of doing it and when's overload. And I had another person who I had met, and we were new friends, associates, and all of a sudden I stopped hearing from this person. And about a year or so later, I got my answer, and he said that he didn't think I was a genuine person, that he thought everything I was posting or tweeting or whatever was to get me something, was a promotion. Now, he's not in this industry. He's a 9-to-5er on the East Coast. So I took that with a grain of salt, because I know that I pride myself on not being overly. Yeah, it's not for everybody's taste, and if so, okay. But I didn't let his words affect me, because I was like, you know what, he's not in this industry, and he doesn't know. He has some friends that are actors and in the business, but they're very famous, successful actors. And I said, he doesn't get it, that those of us that aren't there yet really have to do all the work that a publicist and a manager and an agent and, you know, a street team and a fan club do, you know, for the Charlie Sheens and the, you know, all the actors that are already out there. We have to do that all ourselves. But it's hard. You just have to be authentic, like, and we'll try, hope that you're being authentic. But then your self-esteem comes into play too.